Age Group Podcast. The Age Group Podcast. The Age Group Podcast. The Age Group Podcast.
I've got my running coach who he's been an inspiration to me for my whole life, essentially. So he's called David, and he was my running coach when I was doing loads of track racing, when I was doing all of that. He has his own little sort of running club as well, RTC. So I used to go along to theirs most Tuesday and Thursday. And like, he has been in my life because he was like my dad's lecturer and PE teacher and everything. And he's been in my life, and my dad's running coach and ran with my dad. So he has been part of my life before I was even existing. So he does a lot of my running stuff. And then my swimming coach, as I mentioned earlier, she's been really good at me approaching her and telling her what I need for triathlon instead of just being a swimmer, and being like, I prefer endurance stuff. I want a lot of front crawl. I want like training IM switches is probably not a good use of my time when I come to club. So we've had a few sessions where like both my like running coach and my swimming coach and me, we all just sit down, we meet up, we blather, we chat about it. We chat about like when the races are. We've got a group chat where we've got the races, we've got what ones are my A races, where I'm wanting to be put in focus, not focus. And then I've also got my PT for all my strength and conditioning side, who again is really supportive and works. Like, he'll chat to Fiona, my swimming coach, and although I don't have one overarching person that's overseeing it all, I've got a really good network that's supporting me.
And that's the voice of today's guest, Toni Moore. And it was great to chat to Toni. She got in touch after several of her teammates from up there in Scotland have also been on the podcast, which we do mention within the show. And Toni's been running for 16 years. She's been swimming for 20 years, and she's been doing aquathon for the last 14 years, and she's only 26, so that just tells you what sort of background she had growing up as a kid. She's represented GB the last 4 years, and she's earned 2 bronze medals at the European Championships, alongside numerous Scottish Championship medals. But what stood out from Toni's story, even more so than her length of time that she's been in the sport and also her success that she's had, is her tenacity to get through not just physical setbacks but also mental setbacks. And the mental side of it hit home so much that she's gone on to do a master's degree to study sports psychology. So yeah, really interesting chat with Toni. Hope you enjoy it, and that's coming up. So welcome back to the Age Group Multisport podcast with me. And as usual, I've got 2 podcast recommendations that I've really enjoyed. And the first one is from That Triathlon Show. And they're talking about how to train your brain to race to your potential. And it's featuring neuroscientist David Spindler. And David recommends that people don't just do the physical work, they should also do some mental work. So that was a real eye-opener. Really enjoyed that one. Give that a listen. And then the second one was the Effortless Swimming podcast. And they were talking about the science and art of open water swimming, which, having just got back into open water myself, is quite timely. And they were talking about the gap between pool perfect technique and actually what works in real race conditions out in the open water, dealing with chop, fatigue and basically physical contact. And they broke down why swimmers struggle from transferring what they know into the pool out onto open water. So that was a really good, timely podcast to listen to. So give those 2 a listen, and I hope you enjoy them. As usual, there's been lots to watch on the TV. We've had a WTO race over in Alghero, where Cassandra Beaugrand and Vasco Velarza came out on top. There was a T100 this weekend. The men were racing over in San Francisco, and Rico Boden, the German, won that quite convincingly. Hayden Weil, coming back after a real bout of sickness, managed to come in third, but Rico just led from start to finish. Actually, it was a great race to watch, and the environment that they're racing in over there looks pretty brutal in the swim and the bike, to be honest, with the course that they're riding on, quite hilly, and finishing it off with an 18k run. So yeah, good race that, if you haven't managed to watch it. And then also there's been the Ladies Tour of Italy, where Demi Vollering came out on top, and she's become the first woman to wear all three major tour jerseys. And then we've just finished that off with the Diamond League, which has been non-stop. I think there's been 3 on this week alone, so that's been really good to watch if you're into your athletics. So plenty on at the moment to watch. On a personal front, the run has been put on hold, and therefore the aim to do the standard qualifying distance at the Dam Buster in a couple of weeks' time is probably not going to happen for me. I've still been swimming and also biking and doing some strength training, but I tried running last Tuesday and it just didn't go very well. I got about 1,500 metres in and the knee started playing up and the calves tightened. So today I've got an appointment at the doctor's and I'm going to try and get it sorted out. However, we did have a good weekend. We, as a club, WBC, Joe, our coach, organised a weekend over at Rutland Water, and there was a group of us went over, and we could dip in and out of what we wanted to do. They did a running session on the Saturday, and then there was a open water swim session on Sunday morning, and a bike on Sunday lunchtime-ish into the afternoon. And it was a thoroughly nice weekend. Me and Mrs. C went over Saturday afternoon. Didn't do the run because of Mrs. C's hip and my knee, but we did do the open water swimming on Sunday morning, but it was so cold. Such a difference to bright water that we've been swimming in the heady height temperatures of 21 degrees, while this was down to about 13 or 14 degrees. I lasted about half an hour, to be fair, and then I got out. I just had enough. I was too cold. The rest of them stayed in for a little bit longer, but Joe did some great drills, practicing starts primarily, pretty much off the beach there, and then she did the deep water. She was getting us to practice the dolphin entry, so yeah, it was good fun. And then in the afternoon we went out onto the bike around Rutland Water, and we ended up at a windmill cafe that we have actually been to before, years and years ago when we did this previously, and had coffee and cake and then rode back. It was about 40k, so we had a really nice weekend. It was great to be amongst friends that we've known a long time, and like-minded people, as always. That's why we do this sport. Just a big thank you to everyone who's bought and left comments about the 1001 triathlon tip book that I've created and is available on Amazon. Much appreciated. If you do decide to have a look at it and do purchase it, or you get it free if you're on Amazon, then please do leave a review, because that does help the algorithm to get it out to more like-minded people. So thank you for that. And thank you also for listening to this podcast. Numbers are going up. Really do appreciate it. Like I said, we've been going 6 years now, and we have got 3 more guests after today's episode already recorded and in the bag, so that's cool. If you're an age group athlete and you would like to come on and share your story and inspire others like Toni has today, please do drop us an email. All the details will be at the end of the show as usual, but it would be great to hear your story and you can come on and inspire others. Okay, so it's time for the main event. Hope you enjoy Toni's story. If nothing else, Toni proves that success isn't always a straight line, and it's built through determination, consistency, and the ability to keep going when things get tough. We'll see you on the other side. Thank you for agreeing to come on and share your story. If you'd just like to introduce yourself, that'd be great.
So I'm Toni Moore and I'm 26 years old, and I am currently with Grangemouth Triathlon Club as my main triathlon club. I have been competing in triathlons and aquathlons since I was about maybe 11 or 12 years old, so about 14 years.
Wow.
But prior to that, I was a swimmer in a swimming club, and I started swimming competing when I was about 8, and I
Wow.
was a runner, and I was probably racing from about 9 years old, primary five ish for running, and then I just kind of merged them together and became a multisport athlete. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What stroke did you do, swimming and distance?
So when I was mainly training as a swimmer, I really enjoyed butterfly.
Right.
I
An
still
easy one then.
Yeah, I love it. Make my life really easy for myself. Along with being in Grangemouth Tri Club, I still am actually in a swimming club as well. So I train with the swimming club 3 times a week, and I still throw in my 50 butterfly when I go to swimming galas. I don't quite do my 100 fly anymore, but yeah, still do a little bit of butterfly alongside the front crawl.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, aquathon is just made for you then, isn't it? You know, with the running and when you say you picked running up, what sort of distances were you before you merged the two? What
Yeah.
sort of distances were you doing?
So when I was really young at primary school, I absolutely loved cross country. I was doing cross country from primary five. We had races up here, so at the primary school races, I was absolutely loved it. As I got older, again, while staying with the swimming club, I've also stayed with a running club because I can't give anything up. But when I was in my teenage years, I was mainly doing 800s and 1500 meters on the track, and that's kind of stayed as what I enjoyed doing, is the sort of middle distance track, the 8s, the 15s, the 3Ks. I don't really race cross country anymore. My primary school love for that kind of dwindled when I started doing more track running and getting a little bit faster, and then realizing when you're running on grass and mud, you kind of go nowhere. So yeah, that's kind of what I did for my running aspect.
How did it all come together? How did you find out about aquathon?
Yeah, so when I was little, my mum comes from a swimming background and my dad comes from a running background, which is why I did both of these sports. And then it's kind of getting to like that early high school when you're first, second year and you're kind of getting asked, what are you planning on doing? What are you going to specialise in? Because you don't have enough time to be doing all of these hours in the pool and at the track if you're doing each sport individually. So then my mum was doing lots of like research on what can do and how different training aspects and things, and then kind of fell into an aquathlon. And it was just a little aquathlon that was held at a high school. No idea really what was happening, what the event was. We didn't really have much knowledge on multisport or anything like that. It was just a go for it, try the event. I remember showing up to this first aquathon. I didn't even know that you needed 2 pairs of trainers, one for wearing, one for putting in transition. Had no concept of what transition was. I remember like a person on the megaphone shouting, "Toni, where are your trainers? We need trainers." And I'm like, I don't know what's happening. But yeah, fumbled my way through that, and then was like, actually, I quite enjoyed that. And maybe if I learn what this sport is about before just chaotically showing up to the next one, that it might be something that I could do.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first race, I remember it so vividly, it just being absolute chaos essentially.
Well, I guess anything new like that, you just, you don't have any expectations. You just go and try it out, don't you?
Yeah.
And hopefully enjoy it and do more, which you obviously did.
Yeah.
So what was the progression? What did you do next after you'd done your first one?
So after that, I was still kind of mainly training just with the swimming club and just with the running club at that time. And then I was trying to just sort of sort out all by myself. And then what I kind of realized is one of my friends within the swimming club was doing a very similar thing to me, where she was doing like trying triathlons and trying aquathlons. And both of us were kind of just fumbling our way through it at that point. And then we kind of were chatting one day and realized we were both in the same boat. So then we started helping each other out because we were similar ages. She was a year or two younger than me. So we didn't really cross paths in racing because when you're young in triathlon, it is only like the 2 year age banding. So we hadn't realised that both of us were doing the same thing. So we kind of did that for a while, and then Grangemouth Triathlon Club started and I joined them for a little bit. And then what's really bizarre, I joined them for maybe a year or two when they first started. Again, was trying to fit it in around all of my other training. And then when I was about I want to say about 16, 17-ish, coming to the end of high school, I essentially dropped off from all sports. I was getting really bad performance anxiety. I would be going to swimming galas. I'd be like looking up to the balcony to see my parents and be like shaking my head, crying in my goggles. It kind of came to a head when the Commie Games were last up here. So they did a trial run for the Scottish schools finals, where they had the 800 metre final. I'd qualified for that, and they ran it at Hampden Park. So they had it all set out for the Commie Games. They turned the football stadium into a track, they had the warm-up area. And I think I must have just been between 15 and 16 years old at that point. And I was taken like through the marshalling, through like the tunnel, out to the track, out to the giant stadium. And it should have been one of the best things in my life. But I was just so anxious, so nervous, so scared that my time was one of my worst 800 times that I'd ran in a long time. I cried my way through the race, and I just thought, this is absolutely not for me anymore. Sport is not doing well. And then I kind of was like just training for sort of social, wasn't putting any pressure on myself. And then I went to uni. So I met Carly, so my friend back at uni, and like she just sat beside me and we just ended up chatting, and she was showing me like us on the start line together and all of this. And we just ended up sort of being like, oh, I'll come to your flat and we'll go for a run together, we'll go for this together. And she's an exceptional athlete. She's very, very good. She's gone on, and like this year she's became the senior women's indoor 1500 metre champion.
Wow.
So she's very, very good. And I think that meeting her back at uni like kind of gave me a way back into sport that wasn't this pressure that I'd felt before. I started to enjoy it again. And then I moved swimming clubs. So I was in a swimming club in Falkirk where I stay, and I moved up to a swimming club in West Lothian. And that swimming club I found a lot more accepting of me doing multi-sport events, because it had been quite a predominantly swimming club based swimming group that I was in. They were very much like, we like our swimmers, we want to train you up as a swimmer. And at this point I'd made the decision that I wasn't going to be a sole swimmer. So moving to the other club where the coaches were a lot more like, nope, that's totally fine, how can we support you? And then that sort of made me fall back in love with swimming. I was back training there. Going with Carly and doing all my runs with her was really important. Got me back into just running, enjoying training. And then I kind of got back into it all, which was really good. And then back into competing probably when I was about maybe like 19ish. It was so I had maybe 2 or 3 years out where my competitions were dwindling, and I'd maybe enter the rogue competition because I clearly still wanted to do it, but maybe wasn't at the forefront, and because of negative experiences of the past was like anxious to get back into it. So it did kind of take that little bit of focusing on why I actually enjoyed the sport again, and then getting back into it.
Yeah, I think it's important, isn't it, we do this for fun. I mean, I know some people do it professionally and elite, but they're the exception to the rule. We do it for fun. We do it because we love doing it, first and foremost, and it's good for us. And we meet like-minded people from a social aspect. And if you're getting pressure from outside for various reasons, then that must be so difficult. And I do sympathise with what you've gone through, because really nobody should have to go through that, especially somebody such as young as you. And quite clearly it had an effect on you, making you stop completely. And it's just a bit, I think sport can be cruel, but that term's usually used when people lose or fail. But at the same time, it can be cruel for other reasons, like you've experienced.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you found your way back, and you met your friend, and you've sort of like turned that corner and gone to I'm not going to say a better swimming club, but a more accepting swimming club that gets it, because I guess you get to a certain level at swimming and you either make the cut or you don't. And a lot of people just drop off and don't do anything anyway.
Yeah.
Because swimming, it's just, it's one of those sports, isn't it? As you know, it's like you train maybe twice a day, and it's just all encompassing, isn't it? And from a young age, that's all you do. That's the life. And it's, you miss out, I guess, on other things. So, but it's great, like I said, that you found another club and you found something else that you enjoy and you're back into it.
Yeah.
And you're reaping the rewards now,
Yeah.
I see. So that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
You got to another club, and so how did it progress?
Yeah, so I just kind of went back into, like, after back running, back swimming with this new club, was getting like back into, I did a lot more sort of low-key competitions.
And what were the competitions that you were in? Were the swimming or were the running? Was it aquathon?
I was doing everything, and to be honest, I still do everything. So like,
Right.
I still do, our swimming club hosts, like, they call it, I can't remember the name they call it, it's a really funky name, but essentially like you race over a whole month and you only do like 1 or 2 races a night on a Tuesday night over the month. And I did that initially, and it was like literally just within training time, almost do it as almost time trials, but you get like points per your race, and then it's like long term over the whole winter months, you get your points adding up. So I was kind of doing that to get into like really low level competitions again. With running, I was doing time trials and stuff with my clubs, and then started entering just like 5Ks, 10Ks, ones that weren't as a high caliber race. Because what I'd also realised is that what I was doing was I was always entering like a national championship, this thing, or like everything. When I look back at my racing calendar, everything was really, really high level.
High level.
So it was almost as if that's where a lot of my pressure was coming from, because I was never allowing myself to race and just like have a sort of more low-key, enjoyable race. Everything was just, this has to be on your A game all the time. So that was kind of like my way back into racing, was doing a lot more races that didn't have as much pressure attached to them.
Yeah. Was it pressure from outside then, or was it pressure you put on yourself to try and hit a standard?
I think it's a lot of pressure I put on myself. I like to do well at things. I like to be good, and I make myself standards, and I'm sometimes like, if I don't reach this set standard, then I'm not good, which is really silly, and I know that that's really silly, but a lot of it comes from working like on myself and thinking like, this is good and this is not good. And I actually ended up working with the Olympian Laura Waitman.
Yes.
She put me in contact with her sports psychologist.
Right.
So
I was going to ask you, had you gone to see somebody about that? Yeah.
So I was really fortunate. I was down at a training camp with Steve Cram, and Laura Waitman was there as one of like the guests, and she was speaking about like her sports psychologist and different things and all of this. And then I ended up getting in contact with her, and I did maybe about a year of working with that sports psychologist and like talking about all of the intrinsic expectations that I was putting on myself, and then looking at ways to actually reframe my mindset, because she was saying that as an athlete, you do want to have targets and you do want to have things that you're aiming for, but that then can't become like all encompassing. And that's kind of what it was becoming, was like, if I wasn't meeting this, I wasn't good. Whereas you can still have the targets, but it's how you frame them. So yeah, I started thinking about more of that within my training and within my competing and things.
Yeah, I mean, that's education in itself, isn't it? Because nobody tells you about the mindset, and you feel how you feel at the end of the day, and you look at things how you look at, and sometimes it takes somebody else to say, well, actually, it's not that. That's how you feel, but it doesn't have to be that way. And that's why there's sports psychologists, isn't it? Because it's a specialist subject, really, and you need somebody in there who can actually change the way you think and look at things, don't you? So, which is quite clearly helped you out. So
I found that really beneficial. And then like from even that, my journey to become an age group athlete was also quite bizarre, because a lot of the other sort of podcasts that I've listened to, you've had like people that are going to qualifying events and they're chasing it and they're trying to get it. For me, it was so different. I just showed up to one of the sort of more low level races. I think it was like Dundee University's Aquathlon. So it wasn't even like a national race or anything up here. It was a university led aquathlon, and I'd won it. And at the end, one of the sort of other people who was just a participant in the event went up and he's like, oh, can I say a few words? And it was Kevin Morris.
Oh, right.
He's quite a big name. Yeah,
Kevin.
Yeah, and he was just like, if you've won this race, you probably have made the entry times for the aquathlon standards, so you should put in an application. And at this point, I hadn't even heard of Age Group. I didn't even know what it was.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I wonder what this is. So I looked into it after doing this sort of more low-key race, entered it, and then I was accepted for both the European and the World Championships for, it would have been 2023, for that year, then I was so surprised because, yeah, it wasn't something I'd known much about. It was literally me finding my way back into sport, doing a race that I enjoyed, feeling more back on my feet, more race ready, essentially. And then it just kind of grew arms and legs and took me on a journey into Age Group Aquathlon and Aquathlon.
Yeah, and it's great, isn't it? Because obviously you've been at a good level doing the things that you were doing, and now you've found this other level, European and Worlds, which are two different levels that you can actually go and compete at and be successful at. And hopefully without putting the pressure on yourself by doing that. How's that gone then? Obviously you put your qualification times in, there's no races for that.
So the first race I actually had, because of the way 2023 worked, the Worlds was first. So I was like, this is the most mental step up anyone's done, because it was really early on in the season. I think it was like April or May time, and when it was in Ibiza for the World Champs. So there's not masses of amounts of aquathlons before that, especially there's very few open water ones.
Yes.
My last kind of races had been the Dundee Aquathlon and stuff the year before. So my step from a university aquathlon to then going to a World Champs and seeing all of these athletes from all over the world, it was terrifying. The most terrifying experience ever. I was just like shell shocked. I was like, what is happening?
Had you looked at anybody else's times before you went?
I didn't for that one, and I'm actually quite glad that I didn't.
Right.
Because I think that the experience on the whole, because I'd already had a lot of like performance anxiety and stuff, I was trying not, I knew that it was going to be a big race, so I was trying not to add more and more pressure onto myself, and I was trying to just be like, just soak up the atmosphere, soak up it all. Like, you don't know what this is going to lead to in the future. So instead of putting any pressure on myself, I was trying to just be like in the moment of my first World Champs. So I remember the night before just sitting and I was like, I am just a wee person from Falkirk. What is happening? And yeah, the race, my times weren't my best times from the race. My 5K time was slower than I would have liked. My swim was definitely slower than I would have liked, but I didn't have that same like pressure from before. I was just absolutely elated. I remember there's a video that World Triathlon put out after that year when everyone crossed the finish line. They put like a little compilation of everyone that's had done something in line, and there's me across the line. I'm so buzzing. I'm like waving. It's like just smiling and waving, and it's somewhere on their Instagram, and then people were sending me it back. I was like, oh, that's so embarrassing. But I was just like overcome with these positive emotions, and then just thinking, I want to keep doing this. I want to continue to be representing this team, even though this race, the times weren't great. It was like my first step into that much bigger stage, and I was hooked. So then the following year, so I'd done the Europeans that year as well, and kind of just went with the same attitude and just really enjoyed it. That was in Belgium. Following year, I was like, right, I'm going to actually try now I know what it's like, I know what to expect, I know what the atmosphere and everything's like. And the next year, the European champs were first, and they were in Portugal, and then the world champs were in Australia, over in Townsville. So the one for Portugal, I remember had doing so much training because they'd said it was going to be a split one where you do the 2.5K run, the swim, then the 2.5K run. And I'd done so much training where I was doing a bit of running, really, really hard session, then like a 10 minutes of active recovery, and then doing another really hard session to try and like simulate that split run scenario. And then the day before it, the organisers were like, we're not sure what's happening. We don't know about the water temperature. And then I think it was the night before the race, they made the call that it wasn't going to be that way round, and it was going to be the swim run because the water wasn't warm enough. And I was like, oh no, this is not what I've spent so long training for. I've been so focused on doing really well at this event. I know what I'm coming here for. And yeah, it was just a bit of like, right, how am I going to resort everything? So the night before, didn't have time to walk the course. I'm someone that always walks the course, sees where I'm going. I've got like visualization of what I'm doing, where I'm going, what parts I can push on, what parts I can use as recovery. And I was like, right, I've not even got time to do any of this. So I was like, I'd been out a few days early and I was just doing it in my head. I was like, right, okay, got the course map emailed out to us of the new 5K route, just going through it, wiggling it around. And then on the race, I remember feeling really strong. And I was like, oh, this is actually solid 5K, and then they did it as like a 2-loop course. I was like right on the second loop, pushing on, and at the end I crossed the line and I was absolutely gubbed, and I'd known that I didn't know where I was in the race, to be honest, but I knew that there was a girl in my age group that was about 100 meters ahead of me with about a kilometre to go, and I was giving everything to catch her, and I was chasing her down, and I did get her, and at the end I was just like so happy. I'd my mum came over to the finish line, I'd guessed that I was in like the top 10, and my mum was like, no, you're third. I was like, third. And it was so unexpected, and then I don't think I stopped smiling for the full day, because the race was in the morning and the awards ceremony was in the evening, and like they had a big sort of grass lawn out at that event, and I don't even think I left the grass lawn. So the finish line came in, and then like a lot of my teammates were there, a lot of like my friends that I'd made the year before were there, and I bought so much ice cream. I ate a ridiculous amount of ice cream on the grass lawn, and yeah, I don't think I stopped smiling the whole time. And yeah, that was so exciting to have gone there. And then my second year into it, my first year really trying in it, being able to podium. So yeah, that was really
amazing.
exciting.
I mean, from where you've come from with, your background, people might say, well, she's a swimmer and runner anyway, so she should be of a good standard. But because you had those years out and you had the anxiety to hit that level now, with all that, deal with it and go and do what you've done it's very, very impressive.
Thank you. My story actually becomes even more turbulent following that. So it'll even add more drama to the mix. Was that following the World Championships of that year, so that was out in Townsville. So I'd had a really sore shoulder for about 10 years, and I'd been continually told that it's fine, there's nothing wrong with it. And then I finally got sent for an MRI, and it was like between the European champs and the world champs, they'd said, right, your shoulder's essentially gubbed, you're going to need surgery. They were like, you've got bone shards growing in it, you've got ligaments and everything that are all over the place, your shoulder's not sitting in place. And I was like, well, can we wait until I've come back from Australia, please, so I don't miss out on the world champs? So the world champs went really well. It was, again, world champs are just, the atmosphere at them is absolutely crazy. There's nothing that compares to a world champs.
Especially over in Australia. They just put it on.
Yeah, it was.
It's another level, isn't it?
Yeah, it was absolutely exceptional. It was so good. And then another sort of race, I think I came 9th at the World Champs that year. I was either 9th or 10th that year. But I was just soaking up every minute, like going all the way across the world as far as you can physically get almost to race. It's just, they're opportunities that don't come around very often. Yeah. So yeah, getting to do that. And then I kind of had in the back of my mind, I was like, I really hope that when I come back and I have this operation, that everything will just be fine, and that I can be back racing again next year. So I ended up having the operation in the first week of November, and I came out of surgery, and my surgeon was like, it's going to be 6 months-ish recovery. He's like, you've had quite a lot of work done, probably 6 months. And I was just like, no, because the next European champs was the one in Pamplona. So I was like, I really want to still race that. And I was like, if I can't do anything for 6 months, how on earth am I going to be able to compete to high standard? And I came third last year, and I just want to I don't want to have had this amazing year and then just drop back off. So I fully went in on rehab. I was mental. So I was in physio 2 days after surgery, and I already could get my arm fully above my head because I was pushing through the rehab. My physio was like, I've never seen anyone be able to have this. Within a week, I was out of my sling and I had full mobility back. And by the first week in January, I entered a 10K race, and I was able to run the 10K race, and I was only a minute and a half off my PB. So my physio was like, I have never seen anyone that has had full shoulder surgery to have all the bone shards and everything removed. And then she was like, you're back to normal. I was like, yes, we're all good. So that was quite a stressful time, but I was really committed to the rehab, because I was like, I want Euros to be good.
And is it good now? Is your shoulder okay?
Yep, shoulder is completely fine, touch wood. That's going to be it, sorted. They don't really know what caused all the bone shards and everything to grow in it, but it's all been flushed and cleared and everything. So that was good. And then prior to going out to the Euros that year, I think it was about April time, it was end of March, beginning of April, I'd been invited to the European 10K Championships, and I'd had in my head all the time, I won't be racing that. I was like, I got my invite from the year before, which I stand by that I never should have got an invite for that. I did a 3K race and they extrapolated my time, and then they had like the elite women pen, and then behind it like the invited athletes pen, and I should not have been.
Was that for Scotland?
No, it was just, I can't remember how I got an email through. It was the inaugural one, and I think they just wanted a really big field. So I'd done a race that was it was a 3K race the Falkirk Vics had put on, and that one was somehow an accredited race because it had exact measurements. And then because I think they just wanted a big field essentially. So they had like their elite male and elite females, and then they had like just invited athletes. So I was kind of in the invited athlete section, but I had in my head that I wouldn't be doing it because of my shoulder. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be ready to go out for that. And then I raced, I got there and I raced and I got a 10K PB, and by the end of the race, I was catching the tail end of the elite women athletes, and I was like, this is crazy. All I had in my head was 6 months ago I was in surgery. So that kind of gave me a boost before going out to the Europeans, because I was like, that 10K race I didn't even think was going to happen actually ended up being a really good race for me. I went out to Europeans, and then I was like, right, I'm going to just see what happens, hope for the best. It had that crazy hill up from the swim. It was a bit of a bizarre course.
Yeah, it was different, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really different. Even the atmosphere at that race was really different because it was kind of on that campsite.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, very strange.
Yeah.
I don't think I've experienced something like that, because you've just hit the nail on the head. It was a campsite.
Yeah.
And other than the people taking part and the organisers, there wasn't many other people about, was there?
No, it was a very different event. And you kind of, when you were coming out the water, did feel like you were just running through people that were just there camping. There's like a few wee school trips and stuff wandering around. It was very different. But I remember I did the race and I thought my race is awful. I came out the swim, I thought my swim was quite good, thought my transition was all right, and then my run, it was awful. And it was that weird 2-loop thing, and this route to the second bit was the crazy wiggly bit through transition, and I remember doing that and my legs just being dead. I crossed the line and I burst out into tears because I was so sad about how poor my performance was. I'd felt so good, I was so proud of my recovery. I was like, I can't believe that it's just fallen apart. Ross came up to me, he was like giving me big hugs and everything, like, you're okay, everything's fine. And then another member in our tri club, Barry, he came up to me and he was like, Toni, you were third again. And I was like, what? I was like, what? And like my super sad tears then turned into like tears of happiness, and I was just a mess. I was just continually crying.
So that's a lesson, isn't it? You know what I mean? Don't have your emotions until you know that where you actually come. Because 9 times out of 10, when we're racing like this, we have no idea where we are.
No.
Until we get the time, or somebody says, oh, you've done this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
You have no clue, have you? Really?
No.
Unless you're out there in the front and you know it for sure.
Yeah, because everyone's so
when you've done a swim and a run, it's like it's all over the place.
Yeah, it is really all over the place. And then that night was absolutely amazing, because that night we had like the race was on whatever day it was, and then the awards was the next day. So that was a brilliant atmosphere, because we had like Ross out from the tri club. I think there was 4 other people were all from the tri club. We're all together. We had my family out, my grandparents out. And then we stayed at the campsite. So we went to the campsite sort of bar, and we were like just having a great wee night with all of the Grangemouth triathletes that were there, their families. It was such a lovely atmosphere, like getting to share that with everyone. And yeah, it was just brilliant. And then the next day was the awards ceremony. And yeah, it was also crazy when I was waiting, because they do the girls and boys on the same podium. I looked at the person beside me, I was like, we shared the podium last year as well. So it was the same with me and my male counterpart that did it. We were both going up and like, see you again next year.
That's cool.
So Yeah, it was quite an experience.
And it's all about making memories, isn't it? Not just the racing and doing so well, which you have done, but it's about, like you said, about that family, isn't it? The
Yeah,
GB team as a whole, because you meet loads of different people that from all over the UK,
yeah,
and you see the same faces race after race after race, and you just get to know people. It's
yeah.
it's really, really cool.
It's such a lovely sort of atmosphere because like even the girl who won my age group, Alice, so she was Scottish as well. So like having that sort of two Scots on the podium, and then we both raced at the Scottish Championships quite closely after that, and like again on the podium, she's like, "Oh, I'm not giving you a handshake. I'm giving you a big hug," and like it was just you make friendships, you make connections, and not just in GB, you end up making friends around the world, which
Yeah.
is it's such a privilege to be in a position to have that opportunity.
It is a privilege, but at the same time, you've put yourself out there to do it. You've chose to do this like we all do. And once you've had a taste of it, you just want to keep doing it,
Yeah,
more and more. And I think that's the thing. Somebody of your age, you've got to remember that if you have bad experiences, it's character building. If you have bad races, it's character building. You've got years and years ahead of you, to carry on doing this. And, throughout your life, as your life changes, the different periods, this could be your one constant, couldn't it? That you get into and carry on doing, and just enjoying the whole experience.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think sports like that though. It's such a good vehicle for everything in life. Like sport can be a journey alongside your actual life, and yeah, I don't know. I love sport. I'm
Yeah.
through and through with sport
Well,
in
I think
general, and yeah,
we often say on the podcast, it's a lifestyle at the end of the day. It's who you are. It's who you
yeah,
surround yourself with. It's what you do. It's almost what you become, isn't it? You become this person that everybody on the periphery who doesn't do the same thing knows you for, and knows that's what you do. It's what you're known for, basically.
yeah,
And it's a great thing to be known for that, because it's such a good for a longevity and healthy living. You can't beat it, really.
yeah. And it's just an exciting and positive community.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it gets you to places that you would probably never go to normally.
yeah,
So there's
yeah,
just so many upsides to it. So
yeah.
what happened next?
So next, I mean, I got my PQ for this year, so currently
Yeah.
preparing for going out and competing this year. So I've got Europeans and Worlds both this year. If Worlds, we're just gonna see what happens.
Who knows?
I'm really preparing for it, so that my mindset is prepare for it to happen, and then if it doesn't happen, I'm fit, I'm in a really good racing state. There's no point just holding back and going, oh, what if, and waiting off to see what happens. I've got the mindset of it's happening, so that I'm ready to go, essentially. Found that this year it's quite weird, almost trying to have a racing season where you're peaking in summer when all of the Scottish races are, and like your Euros, and then the Worlds being so far away in November, and like trying to map out how that's going to look for the season.
Yeah, it's almost 2 seasons, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and I'm quite bad for entering 5 million races and doing races all the time, and trying to hold off at the start of the year from actually doing any races, because then I would be having the longest season ever. Has actually been quite a challenge for me to not do it. So I think I've done 2 races so far this year, but not really having them as A races or anything, just showing up and making sure that like I've got transition is still in my mind and all of that. And then from next week, I think the craziness begins.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
trying to be more sensible with entering my races.
Well, I mean, it's a balance, isn't it? Yes, you want to do well, but you also want to enjoy yourself as well, and
Yeah.
be happy doing. If you like racing, as long as you don't overdo it, it's sometimes good part of your training as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So a couple of questions. How did you find being a swimmer for all those years? How did you find transitioning to open water?
Well, I really enjoyed it because I was one of the weird swimmers that did open water from a really young age.
Right.
I did open water swimming through my swimming club, and we actually, for the first few years of my competitions, for open water swimming through Scottish Swimming, there was no wetsuits. So we were, I think I was like 14 years old,
Right.
doing 2K swims just in a swim cosy. So actually getting told that it's only 750 or a kilometre, I'm like, that's fine. That's much
Yeah.
shorter.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, because we did, when I first did it through the swimming club, it all just skins. Getting to actually wear a wetsuit, I was like, oh, this is a luxury. Like I've got another layer.
More
So
buoyancy, as if you
yeah,
need it.
pretty much, yeah. So for me, that actually was never really one of my issues,
Yeah.
because it was already integrated
Yeah.
into my
That's
training.
brilliant. That's brilliant. Because I mean, some swimmers, although they're really, really good, do like suffer mentally with that aspect
Yeah,
of it. That used to swimming up and down in a pool. They've never done it outside before, and they get
yeah,
anxious and panic attacks and stuff.
yeah.
So yeah, that's really good. And you're part of a tri club, is that what you said?
Yeah, so I'm part of Grangemouth Triathlon Club. They're a brilliant club.
Yeah.
They're so supportive. They're such a community club. Everyone's so positive. Everyone knows everyone. Robert would probably love if I came to more of his training sessions. But yeah, because I'm still part of the swimming club as well, sometimes it's hard to always be a face at the tri club, but I do try my best to get along. And I love racing in their colours. I think that our colours kind of symbolise who we are as a club. We have such bright colours, and I
Yeah,
always
you
think,
do
like,
stand out. Yeah.
yeah, it's such a pride when you get to put them on and stand out, and you can tell who the Grangemouthers are from an absolute mile off. We come in storms to nearly every race across Scotland. You'll see some form of Grangemouth tri-suit, and yeah, I think it's a brilliant club to be part of.
Oh, that's cool. And do you get coached by an individual coach, or are you self-coached? How does that work? I know you've
So
got all these sessions, haven't you, with the athletics
yeah,
club and the swimming, and is that what you who I guess what I'm trying to say is, when you're now doing aquathon, who puts your plan together for like a week of training, or you know what I mean?
yeah. So my training is kind of like, it's a big mix essentially.
Yeah.
So I've got my running coach, who he's been an inspiration to me for my whole life essentially. So he's called David, and he was my running coach when I was doing loads of track racing, when I was doing all of that. He has his own little sort of running club as well, RTC. So I used to go along to theirs most Tuesday and Thursday, and like, he has been in my life because he was like my dad's lecturer and PE teacher and everything, and he's been in my life, and my dad's running coach and ran with my dad. So he has been part of my life before I was even existing. So he does a lot of my running stuff. And then my swimming coach, as I mentioned earlier, she's been really good at me approaching her and telling her what I need for triathlon, instead of just being a swimmer, and being like, I prefer endurance stuff. I want a lot of front crawl. I want like training IM switches is probably not a good use of my time when I come to club. So we've had a few sessions where like both my like running coach and my swimming coach and me, we all just sit down, we meet up, we blather, we chat about it. We chat about like when the races are. We've got a group chat where we've got the races, we've got what ones are my A races, where I'm wanting to be put in focus, not focus. And then I've also got my PT for all my strength and conditioning side, who again is really supportive and works. Like, he'll chat to Fiona, my swimming coach, and although I don't have one overarching person that's overseeing it all, I've got a really good network that's supporting me, and they all come with their really specific areas of knowledge that they can apply to me. But none of my coaches want to like overdo the other coach. They're all really positive in having me as the middle, and they don't want, like, it's not as if my swimming coach is like, oh, you can't do that because it's going to be running and all of this. So yeah, it's a really good sort of like community behind me rather than just one person.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That is really, really, seems like you've got it just right. You know, you're not losing out on anything that you love, and you've got it just right. And I'm so glad that you've said that you've got a strength coach in there as well, because that is just so important, that a lot of us triathletes and multisport athletes just don't do. But it is so important to keep injury free and, you know, to get stronger. And it is. So well done for that. So yeah, I mean that's a fantastic story. Thank you ever so much for coming on and sharing. And I hope that, some of the younger females listen to this and are inspired, which I'm sure there will be, as everybody who listens to it will be. But I hope you inspire a certain, part of the age group community as well, because it's a fantastic story. And we don't, like I said to you at the beginning, we don't hear enough from females of your age group. So thank you for coming on and sharing. So we've got some quick fire questions I always ask at the end. And the first one is, what's your favourite bit of kit?
So my favourite bit of kit is really weird. In my swimming kit bag, I have got 2 little seahorse sinkers that have got tape wrapped around them to make them heavier. And I swim with them in my hands to try and make my hand position better and my entry better in the water. But it always makes me laugh when I'm just swimming along with 2 little pink, like fluorescent pink sinkers in my hand. And it just always brings a little bit of joy to my training when I'm essentially using many weights while swimming. But I just think that they're the funniest thing ever. So I love it when my coach is like, Toni, go get your little sinkers. So yeah, that's my favourite bit of kit.
Just tell me what a sinker is.
They're the little things you put in a swimming pool that you drop and it goes right to the bottom. Yeah. That we kids use when they're scared to go under the water to try and convince them to put their face in. And yeah, me as an age group training athlete is using them.
So you use them. So if you're doing a fish drill, you use them for that.
Yes, I use them.
What drills do you use them for?
So I will use them for if I'm doing pool and I've got like my pool buoy in, I'll have them in my hands. If I'm even just doing swim, just carrying them along with me. Adding little bits of more of like the sort of electrical tape that's waterproof around them to make them heavier and heavier, just a little bit at a time. If I'm doing any sort of like drills where I'm looking at extension on my stroke and making sure that my timing's good, yeah, I use them. And I'm the only person in my club as well that uses them. This isn't a common thing.
No, I've not heard of it before, to be honest. I haven't.
My swim coach has just decided that I'm going to have these little seahorse sinkers and be swimming along with them.
I think one of the elite professional triathletes, I was watching something, and his coach got him to use stones. So it's the same sort of thing, I guess. I don't know whether it was Hayden Wild. It could have been. After he'd come back, when he had that crash, and he had the physio and he had that issue with his shoulder. I'm sure it was him who was using stones in his swim training. Fascinating. I might give that a go myself. I might see if I can find some at the bottom of the pool and have a go. Brilliant. So that was your favourite bit of kit. We've never had that before.
Always brings a smile to my face. Just something fun in training.
Oh, you need a bit of fun, especially when you're swimming. So the second one is, what does a week of training look like for you at the moment?
So right now, my training is starting to get a bit more ramped up in the lead up to all of these competitions and season and stuff coming. So I'm doing, for my swimming, I am always swimming on a Tuesday night, a Thursday morning and a Friday morning in the pool. So they're my 3 sort of heavier swim sessions. And then now we're getting into open water, trying to get like 1 open water minimum in a week. But again, being in Scotland, sometimes, it's a bit hit or miss. You can plan to go out and it's absolutely torrential, or we've had hailstones and this morning was scraping ice off the car. So the open water is trying to get up to 1 or 2 sessions a week on top of the pool sessions just now. Then cycling, I'm trying to get, just so I'm not doing too much running, etc., and ending up getting injured, trying to do about 100k-ish on the bike just now, just turning my legs over. It's not a main focus for me, not being a triathlete, but it's still good for having time on the bike, legs moving, not having all of like the endurance coming from weight bearing activities. So again, I've just been splitting up the 100Ks as well. So sometimes splitting that into 3 cycles, some 2. Just again, that's more.
And is that outdoors or is it on a trainer inside?
Yeah, that's outdoors. So I much prefer to be outside. I get so bored when I'm inside, when I'm like on the turbo or anything, that I realise that I've switched off and then I'm not actually putting in the effort. And it's probably been 10 minutes past and I'm just like daydreaming in my own little world. So being outside when you have to be switched on the whole time is much better for me. And then at the track just now 3 times a week. So typically that's either Monday, Wednesday and Friday, or Wednesday, Friday and Sunday. So it depends which of the 3 days, but 3 track sessions, and they're more speed endurance, trying to get like that faster stuff up. Coming from when I was younger, being a track background, I really enjoy training at the track. I like being there. I like pushing myself hard there. So that's somewhere that is good for me to be training. And then out doing usually one longer run a week, trying to make that more a social run. Again, I'm a very social person, so I coach with an athletics club. So it might not be a set night that we meet on. It might be just a message in the group chat, who wants to go a run tonight? And then if there's a few of us available, like just going out, sometimes not necessarily even planning how far the longer run is. It's just a long social run, chatting away, enjoying running, essentially, getting time on feet. And then I'm at the gym usually once a week doing the strength stuff. Been talking to my strength coach and about getting more plyometrics and stuff in. So I feel like the gym will probably go from once a week to twice a week, or maybe more. This is my least favourite area, is the gym. But I know that plyos are really important, and injury prevention as well. So with more races coming up, that's really important to start getting in. And then I try and do like 2 or 3 yogas a week. And that's kind of just when I feel it best fits. So maybe if I know that my session on a Wednesday and a Friday at the track are going to be really heavy, then I'll put in yoga on the Wednesday so that I can stretch off and make sure I'm prepared for the next one. So my training's not massively, this is on this day that I do this, bar my swimming and my track sessions. Because I do a lot of coaching and a lot of stuff like that, I do have a lot of flexibility within my week. And I find that really beneficial for me, because it means that if I am having a day where I'm really tired, really lethargic, I know that there's somewhere else in the week that I can fit my run into or my cycle into. So yeah, I find that quite good. Yeah. So yeah, it's not massively structured.
At the end of the day, it's whatever works, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the best bit of advice that you've ever been given?
I think the best bit of advice was a swimming camp that I went on when I was about 12 years old, and the person told me it's the mind that gives up, not the body. And that has been prevalent then throughout my whole sporting career, with having sort of mental challenges with anxiety and different things, and knowing that actually a lot of the time my body can physically do it. And if I can get through that mental barrier, then your body is able. And I also use it as like a mantra when I'm in races. When I am really, really tired in a race, a lot of the time I'm like, you know what, my body can physically do this. My body can go more. I can have like that extra sprint to get past someone. I can push on. It's my brain that's telling me that I'm tired and I can't do it. So I think that it's the mind that gives up, not the body. Yeah,
that's a great bit of advice. And just on the mind, you went and you saw the sports psychologist. Mm-hmm. From that, did you look more into it? Have you done visualization? Have you studied that side of and that aspect of it to help you train?
Well, it actually had such a big impact on my life that I went back to uni and I got a second master's in sports psychology. Right. So I'm currently...
So yes is the answer.
Yeah. I found it so interesting, so beneficial that I'm currently going to be starting writing up my dissertation for that. But yeah, for the last year I've been fully embedded at uni and looking all about sports psychology, and it's so interesting, and learning so many different things like visualization, mental rehearsal, positive self-talk. There's such powerful tools.
Yeah, it's massive, absolutely massive. And I don't think it gets talked about enough. I think it's a bit like strength training, it's something that it's another discipline that we should actually take up and focus on and put it into our training. But, time's limited, isn't it, I suppose?
Yeah.
So finally, we've talked about your short-term goals. What's your long-term goal? What would you really like to be doing in 5-10 years' time?
I would love... It sounds silly because it's such a small Scottish thing, and when you're doing age group and European things, but I would love a gold Scottish medal at Aquathlon. I think I've got 9 medals for Scottish Aquathlon, but not a single one of them is gold. They're all a range of bronze and silver. I would absolutely love to have a gold Scottish medal. That would mean quite a lot to me. And then obviously standing higher up on the podium at a European Championships would be something that I would love. But I think the Scottish medal it'd mean quite a lot because it's so close to home. If my training and everything continues to progress as you all hope for in an ideal world, I would love to make it onto the elite aquathlon team. But I do think that that's maybe a little bit of a reach at this moment in time, looking at the times that they are able to do compared to times I'm able to do. But if I was very ambitious, that would be sort of my long aspiration. But yeah.
Yeah. And so on that, how far, like time-wise, are you away from the elites then?
I would need to take about 2 minutes off my run time.
Are we talking 5K run time?
Yeah, my 5K run time.
What are they running at 5K?
So a lot of them can do it in sub 18.
Right.
And I'm sitting at about, my fastest 5K last year was 19 and a half.
Right.
So I've got a bit to go on my 5K. That's
doable. That's doable.
It's doable. It's just, I don't want to again go into that whole before of the pressure, but it's an aspiration.
It is doable. You know, I mean, if it might take a year or so to get there, if you focus on it, it's doable. And what about your swim?
So my swim, again, it's about a minute and a half out. It's sort of the same sort of bandwidths. The swimming is so different because it's open water. Sometimes you do a swim and it's like quite similar and quite close to the elites, but actually it's one of the fastest swims that I've done. And then there's other courses where you compare them and you think that maybe like there must be more of a current or X, Y, or Z. So
you can't. It's not like the pool. You can't compare the two.
No, it's really hard to compare the swim, but I'd say that it's probably about the same proportions that I would need to take off.
Yeah. And would that be more difficult than the run, or do you think the run's the more difficult part?
I think that probably both of them are equal. Probably because I come from both a swimming and running background, I see them in an equal weighting.
That's good. It's a good way to look at it, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, good luck with everything. And thank you once again for coming on the podcast and sharing your story.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been good.
And there she goes. A big thank you to Toni for joining me and sharing her journey so openly today. And even though she's only 26, from 2 decades in the pool to years of running an aquathon, her story is a powerful reminder to us all that progress in this sport is rarely straightforward. I mean, the medals and GB vests are incredible achievements, but what stands out most to me after speaking to her was the resilience that she's shown through her injuries and her setbacks, and the challenges of navigating sport over such a long period of time, and also that she's got and built a great group of coaches around her to support her. Invaluable, as well as the great club up there in Scotland that she is part of. I hope you've enjoyed the conversation with Toni as much as I did, and I hope you can take away some of Toni's experiences, whether that's motivation for your own training, confidence to push through difficult periods, or pretty much simply just the appreciation for the dedication that goes into competing at this level. So if you've enjoyed this episode, please do follow us, whether that's on our YouTube channel at AmpGB, where you'll get all the podcasts, whether it's on your favourite streaming platform such as Apple Podcast or Spotify, and we're on all the others you can probably think of. Please do follow, subscribe, like, leave comments. It really does help get the podcast out to more people. If you'd like to get in touch, we are on Facebook at Richard Joseph Conway. We're on Instagram at amp_podcast. Like I said, we're on YouTube at AmpGB, and you'll find not just the podcast there, but there's also loads of videos of me sharing my training and racing stories. It's just basically a video blog. A big thank you once again for anybody who's bought the 1001 Triathlon Tips book. Much appreciated. Don't forget to leave that review on Amazon. It really does help. And as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's episode. If you'd like to come on the podcast, as I mentioned earlier, please do get in touch. You can drop us an email at the Age Group Multisport podcast at gmail.com, and we can sort a date, a time to have a chat about this sport that we love. So as always, don't forget, stay safe, keep training, and love the process.
The Age Group Podcast. The Age Group Podcast. The Age Group Podcast. The Age Group Podcast.